Welcome to this deep dive. And look, I want to talk directly to you for a second. I know your style. You are someone who loves diving straight into the meat of a story. You don't have time for the slow buildup or the introductory fluff.
Right, and honestly, neither do we today. We're getting right to it.
Exactly. We know you are fully caught up on the timeline. We are skipping the character bios. We're skipping the 1964 Kansas City history lesson.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, we are dropping right into the absolute climax of this hunt, right into the tension of the 8th Street streetcar tunnel.
Or the quiet carriage, as the tactical notes call it, which is just an incredibly eerie name.
It really is. Okay, let's unpack this sensory nightmare from Document 2, because the atmosphere here is doing as much heavy lifting as any weapon. I want you to imagine this. It's a pitch black, abandoned transit tunnel underground, damp, echoing.
Oppressive.
Totally oppressive. And then suddenly that darkness is just violently pierced by portable floodlights.
Blinding light just pouring out from the back doors of an ambulance parked right in the middle of this dirt tunnel.
Right. And then there's the smell. This is what gets me in the field transcript. You're standing in this earthy, forgotten, rusty tunnel in the industrial West Bottoms, but you don't smell dirt. You smell sterile, clinical, and aseptic.
Yeah, it's a total sensory mismatch, and that's a weapon, right? It's the first psychological weapon the butcher uses here. It completely disorients them before the physical standoff even begins.
And the physical standoff is, it is a masterclass in tactical entrapment. Eleanor Vance is squinting through the glare of those floodlights, and she spots the victim, Claire. She's on a gurney, IV drip in her arm, and the butcher, Silas Vane, is right there, unmasked.
Unmasked and just looking right out into the darkness at them.
Looking right at them. But the real genius of this trap, the truly paralyzing element, isn't the light or the unmasked killer. It's what's on the floor.
The perimeter of broken glass.
Yes. The butcher laid out this wide ring of shattered glass in the dark, right at the edge of where the floodlights end.
So if Sully, Thorne, or Vance take a single step forward out of the shadows, crunch.
Crunch. It instantly gives away their exact position. And they are completely vulnerable to a man standing in the light, holding all the cards. I want you to really put yourself in that frozen moment. Think about a time you woke up in the middle of the night, heard a strange noise, and just froze in the dark.
Oh, yeah. Your heart pounds, you hold your breath.
Right. Your brain screams at you not to move a muscle. Now magnify that by 1,000. You're blinded. You smell antiseptic. You see the monster you're hunting. But if you shift your weight half a step, you trigger a deadly confrontation.
At a total visual disadvantage. It's a brilliant checkmate. And from that position of absolute control, Silas Vane speaks. And this dialogue...
It's chilling.
It is incredibly chilling. He isn't screaming. He's not panicking. Let me pull the quote from Document 2.
Yeah.
He says, Detective Thorne, you're late for the demonstration. I've already prepped the femoral site.
We really need to clarify what prepping the femoral site actually means medically, because that escalates the danger instantly.
Absolutely. The femoral artery is a massive blood vessel deep in the thigh. If a surgeon opens that site and something goes wrong, the patient doesn't bleed out in hours. They bleed out in minutes.
Seconds, even.
Right. So by casually mentioning he prepped the femoral site, Vane is telling Thorne that Claire is hovering literally moments away from catastrophic, irreversible blood loss.
But his tone doesn't reflect that reality at all. He just continues in the transcript. He says, the odds favored your arrival at 0315. You're 3 minutes behind schedule. I've had to maintain the sedation longer than is optimal for the graft.
He's scolding him.
He is literally scolding Marcus Thorne for being 3 minutes late. He's annoyed about his sedation schedule.
What's fascinating here is that clinical detachment. That's what elevates him from a standard killer to this terrifying archetype. In forensic psychology, you have disorganized and organized killers. Silas Vane is the absolute extreme of an organized killer.
Yeah, he treats this horrifying biological reconstruction. He's grafting material onto a human being in a dirt tunnel.
But to him, it's a routine, scheduled surgery.
It reads like a chief of surgery complaining that the anesthesiologist is running late in a pristine hospital.
Exactly. And that absolute clinical sanity makes him infinitely more terrifying as we approach the finale. He isn't a raving lunatic. He's completely detached from the morality of it. The victim is a biological canvas. The detectives aren't righteous lawmen. They're variables in his statistical model.
He calculated the odds of their arrival.
And he's genuinely irritated that human unpredictability made Thorne 3 minutes late. His mind is just a machine of pure logic.
Which perfectly sets up the psychological mirror here. Let's dive into document JJ, which is Marcus Thorne's handwritten forensic psychological profile of the butcher. It gives us a really uncomfortable look into how these two minds connect.
Oh, Thorne realizes something profound about this location. The 8th Street Tunnel isn't just a convenient hiding place.
No, it's highly symbolic. Thorne notes that the tunnel is a literal vein. It connects the high city, the wealthy part of Kansas City, to the low city, the industrial West Bottoms.
It mirrors the biological graph survey it's performing, connecting disparate parts into one unnatural architecture.
The psychological warfare here is just staggering, because when Silas looks across that broken glass, he doesn't see a cop. According to Thorne's own profile, Vane addresses him as the only other surgeon in the room.
That line is so haunting. The only other surgeon in the room.
It really is. Vane believes that because they share the name Thorne, even though we know they have zero biological relational they share the intellectual burden of this twisted work.
He isn't trying to kill Marcus Thorne in that tunnel. He is trying to recruit him.
Yes. Vane respects Marcus's mind. Marcus uses probability and behavioral science to track the killer. Vane uses probability and anatomical science to build his masterpieces. He's looking into the dark and saying, "You're the only one smart enough to understand my work."
He's offering him a seat at the operating table.
And that creates an impossible ultimatum for Thorne. It's a binary outcome based on the odds. If Thorne refuses and tries to shoot his way out, Vane severs the femoral artery and kills Claire before Thorne can even cross the glass.
But if he accepts, if he steps into that light, he crosses a line he can never come back from. He becomes the monster he's been hunting since the girl in the grain case.
It's a lose-lose, a psychological trap perfectly locked in with the physical trap of the glass. But, and this is where document KK comes in, Thorne isn't entirely empty-handed.
Right, the medical gamble, the tactical asset.
Dr. Abernathy's urgent courier note. So we know Vane keeps his victims awake but paralyzed using Solution 09. They feel everything but can't move. But Abernathy finally synthesized an antidote, Solution 10.
And Thorne is holding a syringe of it right now in the dark.
Right, which sounds like a magic bullet. You have the antidote, jab her, she wakes up, paralysis ends, she fights back, Vane's environment is disrupted, boom, save Claire.
It is so tempting to view it that way. But if we look at Abernathy's explicit instructions, using it right away is a massive, possibly fatal mistake. The mechanics of using this syringe in a dark tunnel are insanely high stakes. The note specifies it has to be an intravenous jab.
Right into a vein.
Which is hard enough, but in pitch black, while holding a flashlight and trying not to step on glass.
Thorne's meticulous, though. He could find a vein.
Sure, maybe. But if he misses and hits muscle, the reversal is too slow. But let's say he does hit the vein perfectly. Abernathy says she'll regain full motor function in seconds. She snaps out of the paralysis instantly. But think about the medical reality we just discussed.
The femoral site.
Yes. The surgical silk is still wet. The artery is prepped. She goes from totally paralyzed to full movement in 3 seconds. Her body floods with adrenaline. She's terrified, in excruciating pain, on a gurney with a madman.
She is going to thrash around violently the second she can move.
She will absolutely panic. And if she thrashes while that artery is exposed, she tears the grafts apart. She ruptures the femoral artery herself.
So by giving her the antidote to save her, Thorne risks killing her through catastrophic blood loss. She bleeds out on the gurney.
Exactly. So the tactical requirement is almost impossible. If Thorne uses Solution 10, he has to do a flawless 5E jab in low light, wait 3 seconds, drop his weapon, and physically stabilize a panicking, bleeding victim.
He has to pin her down with his own body weight so she doesn't tear her own arteries open.
He becomes a human restraint. His hands are completely full.
Which means he is defenseless against Vane.
Right. It shifts the entire burden of stopping the butcher onto Detective Sully.
Which is wild. Think about the division of labor there. Thorne has to trust that Sully, a 54-year-old relic of the old KCPD, who just uses blunt force and a heavy revolver.
A brawler?
Yeah, that he can outmaneuver a clinically precise surgical genius in his own meticulously constructed environment.
It completely inverts their natural strengths. Thorne, the man of science, has to do the messy, chaotic wrestling of a bleeding woman, while Sully, who hates complex plans, has to navigate a surgical theater, avoid the glass, and neutralize a guy calculating the odds for their every twitch.
And all of this orchestrated chaos has to happen the exact second someone steps off the glass and triggers the violence. The margin for error is zero.
Essentially zero.
Let's bring all this tension to a boiling point, because this is where the source documents leave us. I want you, listening, to really feel the impossible weight of this climax. Picture it. You are Marcus Thorne, standing in the damp dark of the quiet carriage. The clinical antiseptic burns your nose, the floodlights are glaring, at your feet a minefield of glass.
And in your hand, a syringe that might cause the victim to bleed to death in your arms.
While relying on an aging cop to win a gunfight in the dark. And across the room, standing calmly in the sterile light, is a monster who sees you as a peer. A monster checking his watch, annoyed you're 3 minutes late for his masterpiece. The clock is ticking on an open artery.
Claire's life is draining away every second you stand still.
And the narrative notes end on this ultimate cliffhanger. It describes the precise moment Marcus Thorne realizes he cannot calculate his way out of this trap. The odds are set. He can't stay in the dark anymore. He finally makes his choice. He steps off the perimeter of broken glass.
The sound of the shatter echoing through the tunnel.
He steps into the blinding light of the ambulance. The final move of the season is about to be played.
Stepping into the light isn't just a physical movement. It's profound psychological acceptance. He is engaging on Vane's terms, within Vane's architecture.
So what does this all mean for us? I want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over. Something to explore on your own. In high-stakes situations, whether you're trapped in a tunnel outsmarting a serial killer or just navigating the high-pressure decisions of your own daily life, we so often rely on logic. We calculate the odds to save us, just like Marcus Thorne does.
We use rationality as a shield against chaos.
But what happens when the logic of your enemy perfectly mirrors your own? What happens when the cold rationality you used to do good is the exact same tool a monster uses to justify absolute horror? If you have to use a monster's rules, his clinical detachment, his obsession with the odds to defeat him, do you ever really leave the tunnel?
Or do you just become the other surgeon in the room?
It is a chilling thought to end on. Thank you so much for joining us for this intense deep dive. We love unpacking the real tension hidden inside these sources with you. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking at the odds, and we will catch you next time.